Okay, so in this video, we will be talking about the index function. Okay, in this chapter, we will be talking about the index function. What is the index function, right? So, index function actually is also the another lookup function, guys. Like you have a VLOOKUP function, right? So in the lookup family, if we talk about the lookup family means functions which look up something for you, right? So we have the VLOOKUP, we have covered the VLOOKUP, and we have covered the match, because match also look up the item. If you remember, this is how we use the match. Obviously the job of the match is different, the job of the VLOOKUP is different. They are very different functions, but again, a match returns the position. It finds out the position of an item, so it is also called a lookup function. So today what you're going to do is, in this chapter, we will be doing another lookup function which is called the index. Now if you ask me personally, I find index not just more powerful, but also it can, like the kind of the limitations which VLOOKUP has. For example, VLOOKUP cannot work in the reverse direction. I shared this in the VLOOKUP chapter with you. Index can work in that direction also, right? So many times when you have to when your data is, when your the primary data, when it has the number of the rows in the different directions, some are aligned to the right side of the lookup, some are aligned to the left side of the lookup. You can use the index rather than copying the data from the you know the left side of the lookup and then pasting it to the right side of the lookup. No, that is not, we don't really have to worry about it if we know the index function. So let us go ahead and see this. So okay, so first of all, I will write here a very simple, to understand, let's make a very simple database. For example, employee ID 200, 200, 300, 400, 500, right? And I go here and I write, let's say, the age, and then I go and write the status, and then let's say I go and write the score, English, maths, and then I, let's say, write here also economics and maybe science. Okay, so I'm writing here the subjects, and as you can see, we have written here subjects before the employee ID also, right? So this is how the data is going to look like. So let's go and check that. So we have the data, we have the numbers. Now we are going to find out the employee ID. I'll put here the employee ID. I'll put here 200, maybe 400, 664, 894, 984, 120. And here now we would be interested in finding out the status, then the score in the English, and the score in the science. So I'm just writing here only 3 headers. Okay, now you know that the first thing which you notice here, the score in the science, the header science actually is aligned. The science score is in the opposite direction. It's coming before your employee ID in the main table I'm talking about, right? And the VLOOKUP will not be able to work because this is our lookup value, because this employee ID is common in both the tables. So when you start using the VLOOKUP, no doubt you will be able to calculate the status and the English, but in case of the science, this has to be copied and this has to be pasted here, so that when you start your formula, this is how it should work. Because VLOOKUP works left to right? But now we don't have to do that, right? Those were the days, I can say that, right? Now you have an index formula, so you should be able to work with the index. Let me write one more header, for example, economics, and then let's say we will have the age as well. Okay, Now guys, what is the index function? Let's quickly go ahead and check that. We are going to cover the first parameter. So index, basically when you write the index, you see here two different forms of the index. We will not be talking about this. We will be talking about only the first one. This is the one we use. Array, row number, column number. Okay. Now what is array? You know by now that array actually is a table. So we select the table and then we say that what is the row number and what is the column number in that table, right? For example, I select the table like this because this is my table. Now in this particular case, row number. So what is a row number basically? Now you see, you want to find the employee ID obviously. And after you find the employee ID, you need to find out the status, right? So if you look at your data carefully, guys, employee ID is going in the downward direction and the status, because it is a header, it is moving left to right in this way, right? So we can say that basically if we have to give the row number should be of employee ID because they are moving in the downward direction. I cannot say the column number because every employee ID is on the same column. So there's no fun, there's no sense of considering the column number for the employee ID. So these are the things you need to take care of. Now when you write, when you use this this function, the index, you have to define that what is basically in this table the row number of employee ID 200. So when I select my table like this, I go and say what is a row number. So you see in your table the row number for the 200 is 3, right? And then what is a column number? Column number of what? Column number of your header which you want to find. So if you start counting from here, 1 2 3 4 5, it is actually fifth column. So if you look at this function carefully, now okay, so why I'm getting the error? First of all, now the reference error is coming, and I said this many times, when you have the reference error, basically the problem is with your selection. Now in this particular case, what I think, when I press F2, so look at this, basically what happened, I selected only one table, D7 to D12 in this array, so it has only one column. So how can I go to the fifth column? So it is my mistake. Actually I wanted to select the entire table like this. So what we are saying that in the table D7 to H12, this table, please go to the row number 3, this row number 3, and the column number 5. So what will happen, your index function in this particular table, it will go in the row number 3, which is this row number. This is the row number. Now in this row number 3, what you want, that would come from the column parameter. Now in this, because in the row number 3 I have so many items, I have employee ID, I have age, I have status, I have English, I have maths. So where I am supposed to go, then that basically the parameter comes from, input comes from the column parameter. So you will go and say that index, when you are on the row number 3, you have to go to the column number 5, right? So column number 5 in this row number 3 is 1 2 3 4 and 5. This is how it is, and you got it. Well, by the way, I do not need the fifth column. I don't know why I have written it. This is actually the column number 3 because I need the status, my apologies. So now this is how it works. So what you are learning from this index function, basically what happens, index in the table, it look up the item basis the row number and the column number combination. So you should be a master in finding out the ways, finding out the ways to calculate the row number and the column number, because sometimes it is not so easy for us to find out the row number and the column number. We will be doing the exercises after this, you will understand, right? But the concept is, I want to find out my row number and column number. Now obviously, so let me do it one more time. For example, let's go here, let's write the index function, array. So I select my table array, you see that. Now one thing which is very important in this case, now I'm selecting my table like this, but guys, you can select your table like this as well. There is no limit. The reason is, if somebody asks you that what is the difference between index and VLOOKUP, you can tell them that index can work in any direction. In the index function, we don't have to really take care of the left to right thing, in mind. It can work in any direction. And if they ask you how is it, I mean, what is the science, which goes behind this concept, then you can tell them, because in the index function, when you select the entire table, index works on the row number and the column number combination, and row number and column number combination can be given in any way, in any manner, right? It does not really require you to select the table from some specific direction. So I say that you go in this B7 to H12 table, and then you say that what is the row number which I want to capture. So obviously you're looking for 664. So you have to see that where is your 664, right? Right now I don't have a 664. So let me just go and write here something else, maybe 100, let's say. So when I go and use the index function, you first of all select the table. This is the table I select, and then I say that I want to go in the row number of 2, because your employee ID 100 is on the row number 2. Once your index is on the row number 2, the row number 2 is this entry 23, 33, 100, 23, male, 14, 55. Then you go and give the further direction in terms of the column number. So which column number we need? Since we need the signs, so this is on the first column, because you have selected your table like this. So what is going to happen? You will tell that go in the second row and in the first column. So this is this is the second row of this table, and this is going to be my first column. So wherever these two lines are meeting, that's called the intersection point. This is the one. So this is how, guys, we use the index function. Now if you ask me that, so is it mandatory, I'm again repeating, is it mandatory that we should select the table like this? Of course not. I can do this in different way also. Let me show you how I'm gonna do it. See this very carefully. I delete this, I say index. Okay, what I need the signs, right? So I can also do one thing, guys. I can select only this table as well, and in this table now, what is the row number? What do you need? You need the signs score of this employee ID 100. Now you can look at this table and you can say that what is the row number? What would be the row number if you need the sign score for the employee ID 100? Obviously the row number would be 2, right? So you can say that in this table, please go to the row number 2 and the column number 1. So basically what is happening in this case, depending upon what table you are selecting, these parameters are coming here. Basically you need to target the row number and the column number. That's it. This is what you need to do. I can further go and delete this. I can select my table in this way as well. For example, you can say that the table should come from here. Why not? Of course you can select the table like this as well, because index only need the row number and the column number. You just give the correct row number and correct column number, index will find out. So what do you want to find again? You want to find 100 employee ID score in science, right? So where is 100 employee ID? Obviously in this table there's no 100, but as I said, you need the row number. You have to tell index that in this table where you have to go. So row number obviously would come from the employee ID. So if I have to check the science scores for the employee ID 100, I have to go to the second row, because this is the row number actually of that table, right? So you can write again the 2 number, but this time now the column will not be 1. The column is going to be 2. Why? Because you select your table, you have selected your table from column A. So this has 2 columns and science is on the second column. This is really not a good way of doing it. Why would you go and select the unnecessarily blank columns? But we are just trying to understand that index can work in any index is very flexible. You can start the index from any direction. You can make the different columns in the selection as a part of the index function. But yes, there will be one problem. If you say that Ajay, can I make the table like this? For example, if you say that, all right, so you say that the table select the table from any column. So maybe you say that, so why don't we go ahead and select the table like this. Now in this table you will have a problem. Why? It's not the movement issue. The problem is in this table, if you want to find the science score, how will you find it? Because science is not a part of this table, because this table has 1 2 3 4 5 only 6 columns, right? And in these 6 columns there is nowhere you find the science. So if you have to find the score of the 100, okay, for this in the science subject, then employee ID can come, you can give the row number, you can say that row number is 2, but what about the column number, guys? Think yourself. You don't have the column number available here. So if you don't have the column number, how can you execute this function? So this is what I was talking about, that when we say that index can start from anywhere, it is fine, but with the condition. What is the condition? The header which you are going to capture, that should be a part of that. And this is quite, it's a common sense, guys, because even in VLOOKUP, when you use the VLOOKUP, you select the entire table. You select the table to that level, to that extent, where you find all the headers coming. Otherwise, VLOOKUP is not going to work, isn't it? Like for example, if I say that you want to find out the position of, let's say this age header in this table, so what will you do? You will use the match function, right? You say that in the match look up age, and then what? You cannot select this table saying that you will get the age. It's not possible. You have to go in this table and select this. So selection is very important. So same way in the index, you have to make sure that what are you calculating, that should be a part of table selection. So it doesn't matter if you select the table like this, as long as I'm not talking about the other headers, I'm only talking about right now the science. Okay, so if you want to find science, you can select the table like this. In that case, the column will be 2, row number will remain same, obviously, if you are going to find out the employee ID. Maybe you can select the table like this, maybe like this, maybe like this, maybe like this, maybe like this. It does not matter, because the row number for employee ID, let's say 100, and the science, that will remain same. It doesn't matter how you select the table, as long as you're selecting the table which is covering this science score, right? This is how we do it. So if I have to find, let's say, age, how I'm gonna do it? Index, maybe I can say, if I have to find the age, maybe again I can select the entire table, and I can say that, okay, so go in the row number of this employee ID 200, which is 1 2 3, and then in the column number, which column number? 1 2 3 4 5. So go to the column number 5, right? Because we want to find the age. So finally you will have your answer. Sorry, not the 5 but the 4, because your age is in the column number 4. If you select the table, if you're selecting this table. So index is all about what? Index basically is, the first parameter is that you select the table, okay, and then there comes the row part. So in that table, in that your selection, what is the row number of your lookup value? Like in this case it is employee ID, and then the column number. So in that selection, what is the column number of your header, right, which you are finding against your lookup, right? This is how basically index function works. On these principles, index function actually works. So now the question comes, obviously I cannot go and write all these things manually. I cannot go in every cell and say that I have to write the column number and the row number manually. No, this is not how we are going to do it. As simple as that. So what is the solution? The solution is very simple. You have to find the row number and the column number using the match function to make this formula dynamic. Okay, so what we are supposed to do, so what we will do here is, I will first of all go and find out the row number of this employee ID. Now the first time what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this little easy for you. I just go and write the index. I go in this table. I'm selecting the entire table because my headers are in the different directions. So the column number, what is the column number? Let me give it 2 and let me give it anything for the time being. Now in this particular header, in this column, we will go and find out the row numbers of our employee IDs. So how will you do that? You know the match function. You go and look up this K11 and then you go in this table and then you say exact match I need. You get the position, guys, right? Now once you get the position, what is the next thing you would do? Well, you will drag this, but before we do drag this, I want to quickly freeze this entire table. So once I'm done with that, I will simply go and drag this. So this is how I'm going to drag this, and as you know, the sum of the employee IDs does not exist, so you won't be able to find out the position. I've just used the match function. Okay, maybe let me go and create here 500, so you can see that we have got the numbers here. Okay, and I just go and write here 300. One error, let's leave it as it is, 894. Now you find out the row number, the position. Now what about the column number? So for the column number, we can go and use the match here. Match. This is how we used to work in the VLOOKUP also when we learned the VLOOKUP. So match, look up this item and go in this table. So when the match goes in this table, this is how it happens. So you will go and freeze the table. This is how it is going to work. Now I go and drag this, and now finally you have your column numbers also coming. 5, 6, 1, 2, 4. What do you need now, guys? Well, we have already defined our table. Let me go and freeze the table. Generally I do this freezing after I press enter, but that's okay. I freeze the table and I go to the row number. Which row number? This is my row number, because obviously this is coming from 200. We have already found out the row number of the employee ID 200. And then what do you need? You need the header as well. Where is that header? That's gonna come from this column number, so you go and press enter. You have your answer. Now time to freeze J11 and L18. Going down, J11 should be J12, J13, so it should change. We will not freeze the row part. What about the column part? Well, yes, left to right, J11 should remain J11. It should not change to K11, because when you go left to right, for the English, for the science, for the economics, for the age, your row number should remain 3, because after all, you're going to find only the employee ID 200 for every this lookup, as long as you're moving in this direction, left to right on the same row. So we will go ahead and freeze the J. What about the L18? Well, if I move down, L18 should not change to L19 or L20 or L21. So we will go and freeze this $18. I go there, I freeze this. Now I think my freezing is done. If it is proper, then I should not be getting the error. So finally I drag this and I guess we are getting the correct answer, right? So this is how the data actually works, guys. So for the error handlers, we can use the if error as well, because we don't want to show these error handlers, right? So you can go ahead and you can use the if error. We have done this exercise, this topic. So if there is error, let's say I just want to say the space. So let me quickly drag this, double click here, and there we go. So we have our answer. So now we are able to find out the all these values. So even if you go and change this, you already know this. If I change this age, if I make this the status, my numbers will definitely go and change. There will be no problem in that. That's not going to create any problem. This is how it will work. This is how it will work. Do we have any questions?
तो इसमें हम लोग रो नंबर और रो फंक्शन भी यूज हो सकता है ना, आपका वो
रो
क्लियर करने के टाइम।
रो फंक्शन भी आप यूज़ कर सकते हो, बट रो फंक्शन इतना डायनामिक नहीं होगा। रो पे अभी
तो
बात नहीं
दोनों का।
करेंगे, बिकॉज रो आपने देखा होगा वीडियो, बट शशांक शशांक सॉरी भारद्वाज कंफ्यूज ना हो जाए। लेकिन रो कॉलम्स की जब हम बात करेंगे तो आप यूज़ कर सकते, मतलब तब वी कैन मे बी हम इस पे दोबारा से बात कर सकते हैं। देखो, एक चीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट है, आप जब ये पूछते हो कि ये चीज़ यूज़ कर सकते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स आप कर सकते हो अगर वो आपको लगता है कि उसके साथ वो कंसेप्ट उसका उसका तालमेल बैठ रहा है। यहाँ पे आपका एजेंडा क्या है? यहाँ पे आपका एजेंडा मैच यूज़ करना नहीं है। मेन एजेंडा तो ये है कि आपको कॉलम और रो नंबर चाहिए। अब अगर आपको लगता है कि वो मैच से नहीं, वो किसी और फंक्शन से भी आ सकते हैं, तो ऑफ कोर्स आ सकते हैं, क्योंकि इंडेक्स को तो यहाँ पे एक नंबर चाहिए, 2 3 4 समथिंग, और एक नंबर यहाँ पे चाहिए कॉलम का। वो आप कैसे लेके आ रहे हो? अगर इसके लिए आपके पास और भी फॉर्मूलाज हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स आप कर सकते हो। ओके, लेट अस गो अहेड एंड
हेलो हेलो अजय।
हाँ जी, कौन?
हेलो।
हेलो। हाँ जी, बोलिए, कौन बोल रहा है?
हाँ सुजन।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, बोलिए।
Ajay, this is just like VLOOKUP, right? But it will even uh, take from any direction.
Yes, yes. As I said that it is a lookup function only. It is a part of lookup family, like VLOOKUP and match. So
Okay.
index is index. You can now have a choice. If
Yeah.
you want to use index, you can use the index. There is nothing in the VLOOKUP which index cannot do. Index is more powerful than VLOOKUP because of this, the direction, the issue we have in the VLOOKUP, index does not have. So maybe if you prefer using index, you can use it. There is no, as such, you will never find a situation, to my best knowledge, where you say that no, in this particular case, VLOOKUP can only be used. Index cannot give us the answer. No, if the VLOOKUP can give you the answer, definitely index can also give you the answer. So you can always prefer index over VLOOKUP because of its flexibility to work in all the directions.
Okay. But it should be combined with match, right? Then only it will be.
Yes. Why we combine it with the match? Because we need to make our row and the column dynamic. Because you cannot go to every cell and start writing column and the row number manually. Like in VLOOKUP also, you, if you remember, you use the VLOOKUP with the match. Why? There is no as such requirement. But the point is, when you drag the formula left to right, who will be going to write the column numbers manually? Because if you write here index function manually, you look at the 200 employee ID row number and you look at the age column number, you write there, let's say 3 comma 4. The next time also you have to look up the column number of the status, so and then for the science also, because every time when you find age, status, science, economics, English, for this employee ID, your column numbers will change, and when you go down, your row number will, and the column number both will change again. So you cannot manage all these things manually, because this is a small table. You may have 20 such headers, which you want to pull out from where you want to pull out the information from the main table. So that is why we use the match function, because match can find out the positions. So it saves your manual work. So you cannot say that it is always used with the match, as he was also pointing out that column and row, there are two more functions in Excel, column and row. I haven't talked about it, so I will not go into that. But yes, maybe you can use that as well, because that also, those functions also return the column numbers and the row numbers. So maybe remind me when we will do the column and the row function, remind me about the index exercise, and I will we can maybe discuss then index with the other functions as well, but I don't want you to think index with the match. I want you to think the logic behind the match, why the match is used with the index. What is the reason for that? Because index demands the row and the column. So as long as you're giving the row numbers and the column numbers, doesn't matter how they are coming, index is okay. But because we want to make everything dynamic, so that's why we use this.
Yeah, Ajay, perfect.
Okay, so just mute now. Let me start this now. Let's go and write the. Let's see how we. Okay, so now we will go ahead and talk about the how to insert these match functions inside the index. Because as I said in my trainings, we don't want to really use the helper columns and the helper rows unless there is emergency, right? So let's go and plug in everything. So I create the copy, right click on this, move a copy. I want to create a copy. Let's move it to the end. So now this is your data and I'm going to prepare this everything from the scratch now. So let's go and delete this, guys. Delete this and let's go and delete this as well. So let's go and write this. Index array. This is my array. Now, what do you need? Row number. So, you know, sometimes what happens when I ask this question in my trainings, that what would be the row number, the first answer generally, this is how people respond. They said that the row number is going to be 4. And when I ask them why 4, they say that because your age header is on the 4th column, right? Now guys, you're talking about the row, not the column. First of all, understand, right? So you cannot go and look at this from the header perspective. This has to be your row number, so it must be your employee ID because employee IDs are going in the downward direction. So we will go and use the row number. Which row number now? Obviously your employee ID row number. We want to find out where is your employee ID. So I will go and say match. What do you want to look up? I want to look up my employee ID. Simple. Where you want to find it out? I told you that in the match you target only one column if there is a vertical direction. Your table is vertical obviously because your employee IDs are moving in the downward direction, so you select the table like this. You cannot select the table like this. I told you there is a rule in match function. You can only select one column if it is vertical direction. If it is a horizontal direction, you select only one row. So once we are done with this, we need the exact match. Obviously I write here 0. I close this, guys. You're back on your index. You can see in the formula bar, press comma. What do you need now? Column number. Column number would come from the each because your headers have the different column numbers. So you write here match. I want to look up L10 and then is in this table. Again, I'm selecting one table only, one row, right? You cannot select the table like this. You will have a problem. So you select only one row and then you give it a exact match. This is how the function works. You press enter and this is how it is going to work. Now once you have done this, what is the next thing you want to do? Well, you want to freeze the thing. So index table should be freezed completely. In the match, this is your K11. So when I move this down, it should be K12, K13, K14, So we will not freeze the 11, but we will freeze the K part, right? Because you got to move this function left to right also. Remember that. So k should not change, because every time it has to be 200 when the match is going to look up and find out the row number for this employee ID, 200 for this header, for this header, for this header, for this header. Table, as usual, we always freeze the table. So you're going to freeze the table. This table I'm talking about, D7 to D12, right? It should not change at all. Let's talk about the another lookup. This is the lookup now, age. So you know that if I drag left to right, there should be status and then science and then economics and then English. So basically we are saying that the column number should not change at all. Should change actually. So you know, left to right, Excel will change the column numbers. What about the row number, L10? So when you drag this down, L10 should remain as L10. So we are going to freeze the row part, 10 part like this, and then we will go and freeze the table. Which table? This table. You see this table, this one. So let's go and run this function. Now you see that if your reference is correct, your formula will work. Finally, you have a formula in front of you. You want to change the headers, you can change the headers. We will not have any problem at all. This is how it is. Yes, that is a different thing if you just go and do some spelling mistakes, and you already know if I just write here math, not maths, you know, then you will have a problem, because match will not be able to find out the math in this table. It will not return any position but an error. Well, that's something we have already discussed many times. So anyways, now we will go and write the if error. So you can also go and write the if error, and you can say that if error, if there is any error, let us go and print the blank cell. So that is how we can go, and let me drag this function, and this is how your function is going to look like. So here is the index function with the to match and if error. And now this is absolutely a dynamic thing. Now let us go and do some exercises. So for example, you have here month and you have here year. So I write here 2001 and I write here Jan, Feb and March. Okay, I simply go and copy this, and we have 2001 and 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005 and so on, you know. For example, this is how the data is going. So I will write here 2002, 2002, and then this is going to be 2003, and finally we have 2004 and 2005. Now let's say we have the data basis these year and the month, and we have some revenue coming here. Okay, let's say the revenue is coming here. So this is $100, $300, $400, or maybe rupees, whatever, in whichever currency it is. Now so here we have that thing, we have the revenues, and here maybe in the B column we can write here status, profit, at par, no profit no loss on, and then loss, profit, loss and loss, right? So suppose this is what you have. Okay, I'm just writing here only 4 headers. you can have more headers obviously, and the number of rows can also be increased, but let us try to understand what we are trying to do here. Now in this particular case guys, what I want to do is I will go and write here the year, and I'll go and write here the month. Okay, for example here I will go and write year, let's say 2003, and the month I'm gonna write here Jan, for example. Now you have to make your formula in such a way that whenever I write this year and the the month, my formula should give me the revenue of that month and year with my status. This is what we need here. Okay, I go and just to give this a little more width, I select these two cells and click on the wrap text, merge and center. You can merge your cells in this way as well. Okay, and then again merge and center. So this is where we have the data, and this is, let me remove the grid lines from this. And if you want to give some header, if you want to give some color, maybe you can give the black color and the white font, or maybe something else. That's all up to you, maybe yellow one. So this is how it is. And at the same time here we need let's say maybe I go and use the Arial black. Okay, so now we need to find out the revenue and as I said, the status, whether it was a profit, year and month, or at par or at loss. What was it actually? So how will you do this? Now guys, you can use the VLOOKUP, you can use the index. Okay, let us do it in both ways. So first of all, what I will do when I look at this data, my first choice should be index, because revenue, because your this status is actually coming before your year and month. So I don't want to use the VLOOKUP, because if I have to use the VLOOKUP, I have to copy this data and I have to put it here. I will avoid that. So my first choice would be index. So how you're going to use the index? Now understand one thing. If you use the index, I know you're going to select the table like this, but the question is, what will be the row number? I hope you will not tell me that the row number should be according to the 2003, because my then next question would be, there are so many 2003 here, which 2003 you're targeting? This 2003, this 2003, this 2003. Then I know your answer should be, actually it is 2003, but with the combination of January month, which is only one time available here. So basically you are going to say that the row number should be basis the year and the month combination, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. 2003 January. So you will write here 8 row. What will be the column? Well, the column will be obviously 4, because you want to target the revenue, and the revenue is 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 4th column. Right now, are you understanding the concept? There are two very important things which are happening here. The first is, we have two lookups basically here, because 2003 is not unique in this. So you cannot go by the 2003 and say that this is the row number, I want to find it out. No, that's not how it is going to work. There are so many 2003 here. You have to take the help of this month also, because the combination of year and month is not repeating here. Had it been repeating, we would have maybe used some different approach. I don't know, that depends. But what about the other thing? The other important thing, if you have noticed, in this case now, your headers are totally changed, guys. Your revenue, the column header is now coming here, and the other headers, they are coming on the top. So it's not that kind of a data where you have the employee ID going in this direction, lookup going in this direction, and the headers are going in this direction. Here your headers actually are going in this direction. So you should not be confused about it. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, When you look at this data, generally, first when you write the index, you start in this way that if manually I have to find the revenue of this in this 2003 year and the month January, how I'm gonna search? Obviously I know you will go here and you will stop here, and you'll say that this is basically the revenue, which is 2206 rupees or dollar. But how you arrived at this number, this is what you need to see. Why you stopped here? Because you found 2003 and the Jan here, and then the another thing which you found is the revenue. Why didn't you go here? Because this is the different header, this is the status, right? So same way, when you arrived on this row number, obviously you can't say this is a column, this is a row number, because you're moving in the downward direction. So guys, the same function, the same functionality we are going to use in the formula also. Now how will you find the row number of 2003 and January? This is again a one more question. We will go ahead and we will join this 2003 and January. This is how we're gonna do. In any cell, we will hide this from the user. I will go and join this with January. I hope we know the AND operator. AND operator, this we call this AND operator, concatenate, this is basically to join the 2 or maybe 3 or maybe 4 or maybe 10, 100, doesn't matter. But this is we used to join the strings. When I press enter, this is how it is going to come. So this is your AND function. We use the AND function to join the 2 cells or maybe more than 2 cells. Why I'm joining this? Because this way I can find out 2003 Jan combination in my table, which is a unique combination. But I know in my main table right now this combination does not exist. So what? You go ahead and create it. What is the challenge? In this column, you go and join it. You join every year with the month in the same way, okay? Do not do this mistake that you join the month with the year. That is wrong, because this Jan 2001 and this Jan, let's say 2001 and Jan will be different. We know that, right? In Excel they are not same. So you have to make sure the joining should happen in the same sequence. So I join the year with the month, and now I go and drag this. So finally you have all the combination coming here. Now what will you do? You go in the index function and you select this table. When you select this table, what is the row number you want to target? Well, I want to go to the row number of 2003 January. So where will you go? You will say match, because I want to make it dynamic, Look up this item. Where? In this table. Remember, I'm selecting my table from A2. Do not select the table from here. The reason is, if you do that, your match will return the row number according to this calculation. Ideally, this 2001 January is a row number 2 for the index, because you're starting from your index from here. But for the match, this is going to be the first row. So you will have a clash. Okay, so either you shrink your index table, it should not start from B2, it should start from B3, or if you want to select the headers, then please make sure this should not be A3, A2. I said this in the VLOOKUP also, that VLOOKUP match should be in the same order, same sequence in terms of the column number and the row number. Okay, so this is how we're going to do. I say exact match I need and then comma, and for the column now guys, for the column, it is just a one header, so I don't think so you would like to go ahead and use the match function. You can directly go and write here 4 in this table. In this table, once you found out the row number of 2003 January, you have to tell that now you have to go to which column, which is 4. So I can write here 4. if you want to make this dynamic, I mean, because you think that there are many headers, of course you can use the match as well. There's no challenge. You can use the match here, this match, this header L6, and it should go in this table, in the index table, and it should return the column number. You press enter and you have the 2006 coming in front of you, right? So then what is the next thing you want to do? You want to freeze the table. You want to make sure O3 should never change when you go down, because this is what you will have in the combination coming from here. And then freeze the table. L6, this is your L6. This should be changed to L7. Let's keep it like this. We don't have to move this left to right. Freeze the table. So I think now when I drag this, you should be able to see the answer. Now anytime if you change this to February, guys, your number will also change, obviously, because this combination will change. And then this area where match is looking up this O3, this time now match will look up 2003 February in this row, in this table, which is A to A17. So when it goes 2003 February, it stops here. It returns the row number. Row number is going to be 9 according to this table. And then in the 9th row, you're targeting which column? You're targeting actually the 4th column in this table. So this is how you can make the things dynamic. If I go and write here 2001, you see your answer will also change. If I go and write anything which is not a part of this, for example 1999, obviously you will get the error because we don't have it. So you can again put the if error as well. You can write here if error. You can say that if the error comes, maybe we can say that wrong year or wrong month, whatever, I don't know. Or maybe you can simply go and let me just reduce this. Wrong value, wrong inputs. That is how it is. If you go and change this to, let's say you make the status and you make this as a revenue, we don't have any problem because we are using the match function. So if I go and write here 2001, you see that you will have the value accordingly. So this is how we work with the index functions. So I don't think so have to do this using the VLOOKUP, but still if you want to use it, just go and copy this status, put it here, and then here write the VLOOKUP. What you want to look up? I want to look up this item. Now the formula is totally changed. Now you want to look up O3, right? Because that is the unique combination. Okay. And now, by the way, one thing, because your lookup is now on the extreme left side, so in fact you don't have to even copy and paste this, because your lookup is now not going to be this column or this column, it is going to be a combination. So this is your lookup, and you can use the VLOOKUP without copy and pasting the data. So I say VLOOKUP. What do you want to look up? This one, and you go in this table, right? What is the column number now? Well, you want the status, so status is on the second column, so you go and write here 2. You can make this dynamic. I mean, I leave it to you. Obviously, you can write here the match function. So this is done, and I guess you need to freeze the table. That's it. And when you drag this, you have to, now you see what happened, why we are getting error, because this lookup is now blank. It should not be blank, so we should freeze O3, because O3 will remain same for revenue also. This is that is where we have the lookup. So I go and drag this. Instead of this 2, I will go and write the revenue column in this table, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you have the VLOOKUP also, and you have the index also. Both the functions are working either way. Okay, now we have covered the index function. We will be coming back to this. So that's it for now, guys. Let us meet in the next chapter. Thank you so much.